Hello friends, welcome to the fourth episode of Once a Parent. Me, Sheetal Bapat, and my friend, philosopher and guide, Dr. Sathe, welcome you once again to this episode. This is actually the part 2 of the episode that you've seen before, which is looking at education and schooling from a different lens. So today we are going to talk about parental expectations. And how do we really look at them from a different lens? What should parents really expect from schools and the role of schools in education? So we parents are the most well-meaning adults in the life of a child. We want the best for our child. We want them to have things that we probably didn't get to experience.
Okay.
And every parent wants their next generation to be living a better life. Of course, now the debate on what defines a good life is changing, and that's a different separate topic of discussion. But we want something better for our child, and for that we look at school as an ecosystem. But in the previous episode, as we spoke about the productization of education and the child becoming the product, the school becoming the vendor and the parents becoming the consumer in this world of consumerism, there are a lot of things which are actually going wrong.
Okay.
And it's not just that we talk about it, but we are seeing the results of it. The parent-child relationship that I always feel which has to be very special, enjoyable, memorable, is turning into something else. Just a couple of days ago, this news of it was heart-wrenching. I have written about it on my social media also. A girl who had gone to Kota for her coaching classes realized that she couldn't meet the goals, objectives, and the dreams of her parents. And she ended her life with a note which said, "I am sorry, Papa. I am not a good girl. I could not do this." My heart went out to her to say, had you held on, there were so many more amazing things that life could have offered to you.
Correct.
But as we say that education, which is now revolving around scores, parental expectations for their children are based on what is their academic achievement. And
when you say academic achievement, it is only about the outcome.
The outcome, not the learning process.
What do they see at the end of the examination, on the day of the result?
And as we always say that examinations are nothing but an effort to assess basic understanding, memorization and presentation skills. Nothing
the kind
beyond
of examination system that we have today, like assesses only 3 things of them.
The things that I just mentioned. So, and that is becoming a question of life and death. And I'm sure you must be getting so many cases of anxious parents. I mean, anxiety runs high, FOMO. We've seen edtech companies become unicorns based on the FOMO that
parents have about their child.
Yes.
Okay. And then that slowly percolates into the mind of the child.
It does.
Parents don't do it purposely. Okay. Like the girl that you talked about, her parents definitely never wished that their girl would commit suicide. Okay.
Never. No parent would ever.
That's the reason why I said in the last episode that this is the time where we need to press the pause button. Okay. Because we have talked about it even earlier, that wrong things done with right intent.
Yes.
Okay. I also had a boy and his parents coming for the consultation, and that boy was preparing for JEE in one of the coaching classes, which start from 8th grade.
That's another crazy rat race, I would say.
And then the kind of pressure and then the kind of tension, and now he is in 12th and he has given up on the studies. Okay, when it is like it is most required, so to say, in that process, he has given up because there is a burnout.
Yes.
Okay. Now, they said that we never pressurized him for that. We never set those expectations. But then I said, like, when you admitted him to a kind of coaching class, which was claiming that they are preparing the students to crack JEE when they are in 12th from the 8th grade. What was your idea?
Exactly. I mean, at least question that. I mean,
So this is something that needs to be challenged because he was good at maths. Okay, so he liked, we never forced him, but he
good at
liked
maths mean
going
he
to
scored well in maths, not good at maths. I think
Correct.
these two are
He
different
scored
things.
well in maths,
Yeah.
so probably he has a better acumen
Better
for that.
acumen for that.
Okay, that is also understood. That I can understand. But tell me the link between these two.
Yeah.
No, he was okay with that. He never complained about that. So I said, no, because he liked it, but it was a kind of a slow poisoning.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of learning maths was to crack JEE. It was, again, about the process of learning itself. And having that, enjoying that intellectual stimuli of learning something more challenging, solving some difficult sums and all those things, and being able to acquire those mathematical logic and those skills, it was more than that. And then again, it focused on the product. So everything is in that context of that.
Yeah.
Okay, and this boy has given up studies.
Yeah.
Not only that, he has mental health issues now.
Yes.
So imagine a kind of a routine he must have had with those classes, with the schools, right from 8th grade, and the objective is to crack the JEE. Okay, then they said, no, the objective was not to crack JEE. Then I said, why was the need then? Who was already doing good in maths, why was the need to put that boy to a coaching class? Coaching classes, the purpose of coaching classes is to mobilize more resources because the child, whatever inputs that the child is getting from the school or are not sufficient enough for the child to learn the basic competencies or those content competencies.
Correct.
For that child.
It is like an additional, a bridge kind of a thing.
But then this is like the child who's already doing well in maths and then putting him to a coaching class. Then I said, what was the objective then?
Shivisha, I remember another case here when I started Shamche Foundation maybe 13 years back. There was a student who was studying in a public school right across our house. And we used to go there, and I had spoken to him a couple of times. He passed 10th from a semi-English medium, and he got some 90% marks. And the parents came from the community. They were, his father was a carpenter, his mother was a housewife. And they thought that this child would definitely do engineering, and that would really, give him a better life. And based on that, they took loans and put him in a coaching class. And it so happened that after 11th, this child couldn't grasp concepts because English as a language changed. And he was such a lively child. He was so friendly. He had so many skills. I mean, everybody used to love him, He was the Jan of the school kind of a thing. But he didn't have that burden of financial loans and the expectations that everybody had from him. He actually jumped from the terrace of the physics class, and he had committed suicide. These are, things which we have to talk about. I mean, what are we really doing?
So indirectly, we are putting conditions of worth.
Yes.
Okay, on that child, where the child's self-acceptance also becomes so highly conditional.
Yes.
The girl who wrote a note that I am not a good girl, so for her, being good girl means scoring good
marks.
Yeah. Being able to cope up and pass through all those examinations and assessment, whatever that
and
is.
Are we even going to look at the realistic picture that IIT put together all seats across India?
They're not more than 18,000 or so.
Maximum. There were 11,000 before, and now there must be a maximum
19,000 something. I'm not aware of the recent this thing, but they are not more than that. Okay. Now, Sheetal, some of the data, if we really look at, from Maharashtra state, children appear for state board exam, 10th
Yeah. Yeah.
state board exam, are around 17 lakhs or
17
so.
lakh around
Okay.
per year.
Now, if we imagine all the state boards from all the states,
A
okay,
crore of students
then
almost.
CBSE, ICSC, and all those other boards. So the average figure that we talk about is 2 crores appearing for 10th grade.
Yeah.
Okay. And number of seats available in IITs. IIT as an example, as a representative sample, even if we are not exactly aware of, but they are definitely not more than 20,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there has to be some filter. Now, there are only 2 filters possible. One is the lucky draw.
Yeah.
2 crores say, like from 2 crores of student, if we have to select only 20,000, then one is the lucky draw. Okay. Or second is to have an assessment
Yeah.
which is so tough, to have a filter which is so tough that only handful of them will clear that. Okay. So it is not about the child's ability. It is not about learning, but it is simply a number game between number of aspirants being lot more as compared to number of opportunities.
Opportunities.
So,
Precisely.
and that is the number game.
Yeah. But without failing to understand this, we are looking at the number game and the FOMO in parents. I mean, the anxiety, because most of the questions, Shirisha, that come to us are also around which board should I choose.
Correct.
There are maternity homes which are saying ki we guarantee admission into this preschool, or there are parents standing in a queue for forms from the previous night to get admission into a so-called good school. I mean, there is parents are confused which is the best school. SSC board, CBSE board, ICSC, IB. With me, with my younger daughter, I have seen all the boards. So, you know, that's a different story to tell, and my experiences, I can make an episode on that.
Correct.
But the whole thing is, as you and me always say, that it is a teaching disability, not a learning disability, because every child learns differently, and but choosing a board.
Choosing a board, choosing a school, choosing coaching classes.
Yes, because
now, this is something, again, it is revolving around
the product.
Scores. Okay, learning, nobody is talking about learning as a process, learning as a journey. Coming back to the point that I was talking about, that number of aspirants and number of opportunities. Now, wherever this ratio is different, children are happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so the idea is again why IIT? Because it guarantees you more pay package.
That's another thing, because you know, one or two children who get into good pay packages is something which is highlighted by the media so much that, but there is also anyways, let's not, we will stir too many
we'll open another can of worms now.
Yeah, but I don't want to get there. But right now I want to restrict it to the parents, what kind of questions they should be asking while choosing a school.
Correct.
While it's not like outsourcing your parenting to a school and hoping that a finished product is going to come out. Why?
Because we are paying a lot.
Because I'm paying a lot of fees, because there's a swimming pool, there's a horse riding thing, there is something else going on in the school. So my product, I'm going to get a finished product and my responsibility is over, and I've outsourced it to the school. That doesn't happen, because even earlier when we looked at the evolutionary role, parents and families played a very important role in who to be.
Correct.
And the school's role were restricted to what to become, or you know, the skills required for livelihoods.
Correct.
So now if we look at that, how is it today that we are going to, what should parents really, what kind of questions they should ask?
Correct.
You know, while actually looking at schools or education. It's not about which school my child goes to. It can't be your kind of a, what do you say, a trophy child and a trophy school is no longer what you, because every school is talking about.
And that trophy also defined just by the marks.
Just by the marks.
Have we become so reductionist that we reduce a child and child's worth to this?
Yeah. And also again, when we are talking, when we are taking teacher training workshops, and we ask teachers to do role play about the problems that are faced in the schools. Mostly the problems that they talk about is about parents' expectations. Parents coming and even fighting for half a mark, which is less,
Correct.
that the child, or why my child didn't come first, why was he not allowed to participate in a particular competition, and so on and so forth,
Correct.
basically.
Correct.
And the second, so this is what normally emerges. So now, what is the role of a
Exactly.
parent today?
Correct. So, Sheetal, few days back, worried parents came to my consulting room, and their worry was their son was asked to appear for the board exams externally, not through the school.
Okay.
Okay, their son was in ninth grade. Okay, and they were really worried about how their son would feel and all those things, and they were extremely unhappy by school telling them that let him appear for the exam externally and not through the
And
school.
the motive of the school would be because it impacts their results.
So
100%.
100% result. So I asked them a simple question that when you selected a school, was 100% board results a criteria for you to select the school? They said yes. Then I said, I have nothing to offer to you. Because when you made that as a criteria, there was one student 10 years back who had to go through the same humiliating situation. It is humiliating for a
For the child, of
child,
course
of
it is.
course. It's almost like being outcasted. Okay, so one student at least went through that humiliation because of the criteria that you selected for school selection. Okay, now these are things parents need to think about.
Yes.
Even if you go to the best of the schools, which have a great infrastructure and all that, you would see photographs or the names of the students who have been like merit holders and who have
Achievers.
topped the board exams and all those things. So, achievers and academic achievers, and that too, those who have scored well. Okay? And that really worries me. In one of the schools, I was I was a chief guest, which was a felicitation program of the 10th graders who have cleared that. Okay, and the school management and the principal were telling me very proudly that we felicitate every student. Okay, on this day after the results were out. Okay, so we felicitate every student, and while felicitating that student, we tell that student how great he has done in the schooling during the school days, and how what are the skills or what were the special things that that student had and all those things. So my simple question was, if that was the uh, rationale behind having this entire program of felicitating students, then why do you wait for the board results to be out? Now this program can happen immediately after the end of the exams.
Farewell can be that.
End of the exams.
End of the exam.
Or farewell. So what are we doing? Aren't we fooling ourselves? Aren't we contradicting ourselves? Okay.
Yeah.
So these are certain things which are actually very simple to change.
Yeah.
If you want to do, and after the results are out, children can come to the school, collect their mark sheets or whatever sponsored scholarships that they have through the school or whatever, they can collect it from the office and go home.
Correct.
Why it has to be highlighted? Why those academic scores have to be highlighted? And they are highlighted everywhere. Aren't we aware that what kind of a message that we are spreading across to the school, to the students? That your worth depends on scores. You will be valued on your scores. Okay, you will be encouraged, you will be appreciated by the society at large by having big functions, by felicitating students. Why? And those who don't score well, then we keep on telling the philosophy that scores are not everything. Okay, you can do so many things in life. You are good at these things. Why don't you try? Scores and exams are not everything. Whom are we fooling? Isn't it a clear-cut contradiction?
Yeah.
What are students going to understand out of it? What is the child supposed to understand out of it?
Rather, if
Many
we,
a times, rather, teachers tell me that we don't like label anyone as a dumbo, so to say. But this thing is, when you label a child who has scored 95% or percentile, whatever, as a brilliant and intelligent child, you have already labeled
the others as dumb
the others as dumb.
or not good enough.
Now, these are certain things which we are like so blind towards. It's a blind spot for all of us. And that is something, these practices, these rituals, these felicitation programs, and this glorification of academic achievement has to be.
See,
Right
while
down
we
from
cannot ignore the importance of academic achievement for the goals that the child has set
Exactly.
to open doors for the
But
next
then let
level
the
of...
child be happy about his or her own performance, that I have taken efforts in such a way that it is helping me to steer my life and my choices in the way I want them to be.
towards the
So
goals I have
scores
set
right
for
now,
myself.
as I said, scores are more about a number game,
Yeah,
about number of aspirants and number of opportunities.
yeah,
So obviously, if the child really strives and works hard to gain scores, so that the child is in a position of choice,
yes,
and those scores are nothing but the keys at the entry point. Period.
absolutely, because
After that, what that course would demand,
yeah,
what will be the academic requirements of that course, again are two different things, but they are just about the academics.
yeah, because my daughter went to medicine and her NEET, the portion that she studied for NEET, to get those many marks to get an admission into a medical college. So, but that was the need for her because she chose a
She
professional
wanted
course
to go
like
there.
medicine, and but after that in the first year it was whatever she had studied for the entrance exam had nothing to do with the course that she took
Correct.
up, and the first year was
Correct.
completely rigorous and difficult
Exactly.
and very different from what she really studied for the entrance exam.
Exactly,
So
that's
these
the
are things we
point.
need to be mindful about, you know, ki
Exactly.
what
So
are we
if
doing about
your
it?
daughter was determined to do it,
Yeah.
and then let her be happy about that.
Yeah.
And she would be motivated to do. Why other people have to put those conditions of worth on the child and celebrate and felicitate only those?
Yeah.
That is something which is a social practice and which is glorified in so many ways. Can't we stop that?
It's high time we do.
It's high time that we think about such a simple practice, but the damage that it is doing to children, it's not doing good to children.
It is not.
If at all it is doing good to the children, then it is only those handful. But then again, the risk is they start defining themselves and their worth by the scores. And that's how quota happens.
And if you don't get the scores enough, then you feel that you're not a good.
They are not worth living.
That's so scary.
And who's really priming these beliefs? Who's fueling these beliefs? We as adults. We as a village.
Yeah.
We are doing that. And that is something that we need to stop.
Then, Shirisha,
So, rather than having those criteria for selection of the school, that whether the school has 100% board result, can parents think about thrashing that? Can schools think about not having these felicitation programs after the results and not felicitating those students who have scored? Let them be happy about what they have done. We can encourage them that we are happy. Again, praise and encouragement are two different things
altogether.
Praise is for the product.
Yeah.
Encouragement is for the process.
Yeah.
So, can parents and teachers encourage them? Ask the child, are you feeling happy? Do you feel motivated to take those many efforts? It's an effort. So, these are the things parents need to be aware of.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, then if we really want to focus on the process, then there are certain things which parents can look at and ask the teachers
Correct.
or the school about it.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of a learning experiences my child is getting? Is my child happy in the school? And that I can experience at home also, right?
Yeah.
If the child feels like
Going to the
to the school, looking forward to go to the school because he is going to have a lot of fun, of course, with the friends, and also doing something which is challenging him or her intellectually, does the school call the child? Now, if all of us really said, like if the parents set this expectation and if the school works for this objective that the school calls, imagine what will happen to the child. Rather than the child being a product, setting these conditions of worth on the child and creating those practices and rituals and traditions around it, which again endorse those conditions of worth. Isn't it something that we can look for?
Yeah.
So these are certain things. Does my child behave pro-socially in the school? Does he help his classmates? Okay. Does he, like, if there is a case of bullying, say for
Yes,
example,
yes, which is on the rise, and how?
it is on the rise. Okay.
Yeah.
And we are not really considering ourselves to be responsible for that.
No, in fact, I would like to bring to the fore a case which happened in Pune in one of the reputed schools. I wouldn't name the school because I would not like to believe that it happens only in that school. Whatever my experience and whatever our experiences are, it is happening everywhere across all schools. And but this was an issue which came to the fore where a group of children pinned down a weaker boy and actually bullied him with a sexual overtone, and the rest of the class was laughing at it, and which is extremely scary. Even it actually gave me a sleepless night. And the teachers tried to firefight that incident, or underplay it, and till the time the parents of the victim child did not come and ask for a video footage, only then the children who were even involved in the bullying and the children who laughed, their parents also were in denial till they saw the footage and saw what really happened.
Correct.
So, isn't that, is this not a school environment?
Exactly. So what are we doing? And Sheetal, since you mentioned about this, when this was posted on a social media,
Yeah.
there were hundreds of comments, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, it was all about, it is so horrible, the school should investigate, the parents should be blamed,
Parents' fault, teachers'
should
fault,
be...
school's fault.
Okay, so everyone was busy fixing a person or a system. Okay, there wasn't even a single comment which said that from today onwards, me as an individual, as a member of this society, will take this baby step so that these things don't happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There wasn't even a single comment.
So nobody talking about the problem as such.
Nobody's talking about a problem. And as we said, right from the first episode, it takes a village.
Yeah.
So every villager has a role to play, has to take a responsibility, his or her own share of responsibility, depending on whatever position that they are into. So it did not happen only in that school. To those who were into that dyad of the one who got bullied and the ones who were not who were bullying, rest of the class was laughing. What does that mean? It was a vicarious experience that they were taking. So everyone had that in their mind, okay, and they enjoyed someone being targeted, hit, humiliated in every possible way. Okay, it is such an issue. And then again, parents safeguarding, trying to safeguard, trying to be defensive, okay, trying to blame the school, everyone, like, it's so scary. So it was, nobody was talking about what my responsibility is. Actually, this phenomena is a culmination of empathy crisis
So true.
everywhere.
But you know what? This is a question that we are getting from a lot of our viewers and people also who are messaging me. And so bullying and overall this whole lack of empathy, the power, and in this change environment, it's a different topic. And I think we should very soon do an
Exactly.
episode
We should
on the
because
dynamics and how to
exactly
really deal
because
with it. Because
normally what
even
we see.
parents, you know what happens, Shirisha, even though we know, we don't know the science of understanding, because a normal looking child in our home setting probably is engaged in bullying or is a victim. So what are the signs and symptoms, how we should really mold our children to ensure that they are neither a victim nor a perpetrator. So all these things is a very extensive topic which I think we will have
Yes,
to do a couple of
yes,
episodes on handling these issues and nurturing
exactly.
this empathetic mindset.
Because even the articles that have appeared in the newspaper and
Yeah.
everyone talks about there should be a counseling service. Okay. Now, counselor doesn't have a magic wand.
Nobody, no.
Okay. So, what is it? Then there hasn't been any, like these days, parents don't talk to their children. Okay. What is it? What are we talking about?
So we
There
need
are
to do
lesser interactions, so
Yeah.
we need to focus on these things.
And-
But primarily, when it again boils down to if it is a school, what are the things?
that the parents should really ask for.
Is empathy promoted in the school? Is it nurtured in the school? Okay, are more group activities given to the students? Okay,
Yeah.
so these are certain things which parents can ask the school in terms of learning as a process. Okay, getting that
Not the outcome
information,
alone.
getting information, and see, it's so logical.
Yeah.
If that the process is healthy,
The outcome is going to be
is
healthy.
bound to be better.
Yeah. And again, Shirisha, I would like to also talk to the parents about this one thing that they have to be mindful about. That when we grew up, the opportunities to learn livelihood or the careers were so stereotyped, and the choices we made were so stereotypical, like above 80 science, and we take science because you've got more options, otherwise you take commerce, and kuch nahi aata hai to arts le lo. And so the career opportunities were also limited, the awareness was limited. But today what the parents need to really understand is right from the age or from we need to do another episode again on the learning window that the teenagers have, and how
Correct.
neuroscience is giving them a very big opportunity of learning, and how we are wasting it if we
Correct.
are not planning the career journey or the education choices correctly. Because today we have, in the 21st century, there are so many opportunities that a child can learn now, with NEP coming in, with liberal education coming in, with interdisciplinary fields arising. Every person has got enough and more opportunity, and the scope has shifted. The word scope has shifted from the field to the child and the individual. So there is no need to get so hyper in today's day and age to feel that your child, if not this, then it is the end of the tunnel and there's no light at the end of the tunnel, is a wrong myth that first parents, if they start looking at it more with an open mind and start getting those inputs and start equipping themselves with that knowledge, then probably the anxiety would lessen. The FOMO would be
basically
lesser.
These are the possibilities, multiple possibilities that exist. What about the essence of that learning?
Correct.
Now, if the schools are losing that soul, then parents should be demanding in that way.
Correct.
Not in terms of the infrastructure, not in terms of whether my child is competing in some event, whether he has won the trophy, whether he has stood first or not. It's not what needs to be discussed or debated or questioned. Because, as I said, because of that consumer mindset, if we are paying so much, then I have to have a finished product. And that finished product is the one which is sellable in the market.
I remember you saying this when in Flame, parents had come to ask whether placement guarantee hai na. So I remember
Our
you.
chairman would always say ki we would call good companies for a placement, but then whether they would have that placement, whether they would really thrive in that, whether they would grow, whether they would contribute, or whether they would do well will depend on your.
Yeah. And why the insecurity?
So, again, focusing when it comes to school, if the parents are pretty much focused and clear about what to expect out of the school,
Yeah.
if they start asking these questions rather than which board and all those things, basically the distance of the school from house.
Very important.
Imagine a child spending hours together to commute to a school. Why? Okay, the number, like the time that is spent on that. So that is something parents need to be mindful of. Number two, as I said, what are the learning experience? What is the school doing in terms of creating multiple learning
Yeah.
experience? What is the school? Is the school having multiple activities where my child's interrelational skills are going to get nurtured? Is the empathy being nurtured? Okay,
Yeah.
because if something that hurts you, if that is not painful for me, then it's very easy for me to hurt you. Okay, so developing those sensitivities, okay, then being aware of the diversities, all those things. We keep on just talking about
Yeah.
these things, but then
Yeah.
what are the things that are happening in the school in terms of creating these?
Correct. And then the last question I would like to ask you, Shirisha, is now that we know like what to expect from the schools, what is it that the parents should do? Like there was a role that parents and these informal places played,
Yes,
right?
beginning of the first episode, we talked about that there were informal like spaces. Okay, now those spaces are
Joint
totally
families, every role. Yeah,
disintegrated.
yeah.
Okay, so what's happening funnily is like parents are outsourcing some of their parental responsibilities to the school. Okay, let me just give you an example. Recently, I conducted a workshop about a law. Okay, that was about prevention of sexual harassment at
The
workplace.
Posh Act.
Posh Act. Okay, and it was in one of the apex bodies in Indian Constitution. Okay, in Delhi. Okay, and we were talking about gender and all those things, and like the participants were pretty responsive and all those things. And two or three of the men in that group, they told me that yes, we do agree. And it is really very difficult for us to unlearn what has gone into our making in terms of gender and gender roles and stereotypes. But yes, we do agree that our children should be brought up in a different way. Okay, they should be given all those inputs in terms of having a gender equal out view towards the world and towards their own self and all those things. So it should be a part of a schooling.
Curriculum.
It should be a part of a curriculum and education. So my simple question was, when you take your children to shopping malls, when you take your children for outdoors and for trips and all those things, when you take your children to fancy restaurants, okay, is it prescribed by the school? Is it a part of their curriculum? You do that for your children, right? Then what is the problem in doing these things also for your children?
Correct.
Because home is the first ecosystem where children acquire these values, these norms. So, what about gender equality in your household? Okay, so these are certain things now parents need to think about, that if we expect that finished product, everything in terms of what 21st century requires has to be a part of my child's personality and everything has to be brought about by the school, then we are outsourcing
Yeah.
many
And
of our responsibilities.
would-
And at the same time, teachers are getting into that the child is not attentive in the class. Okay, then teachers start probing into how's the environment at the school,
At the home.
at the house.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
at
that's
home.
one thing which has come so drastically in
That
all
because
our
the parents
interactions.
are there is a distressed parental relationship and they are going through a divorce and all those things, and then the teachers would then talk to the child. My question is, like, why are you getting into extended parenting? Because then the causal connection that they would come up with is something which is beyond their control.
Yeah.
Okay, screen, media, demanding parents, parental conflict, okay, and all those things which are beyond their control. So they lose the focus on that. Fine, if the child is not able to be attentive in the class, what can I
I
do
do.
as a teacher to create an engaging learning experience for that child?
In fact, I would like to suggest to you that we speak about this topic, about how today parents and teachers, I see that there is a kind of a passing the buck going on. Like parents are blaming the schools and the teachers for things that the desired outcome that they don't see, and teachers are kind of blaming the parents and the environment at home for the classroom, the challenges that they face in the classroom to do their duties well. So this is
Exactly.
another
So
area where we need to see how
recalibrating
yes, yeah.
expectations from their own self as parents and teachers also,
And again,
and recalibrating expectations from each other.
each other, and keeping the child in the center of
Correct.
all your
And not
efforts
looking at the child
as
as
a
a
product.
product, but a person or an individual who's in process of being. Right? We call ourselves human being.
Being. Yeah.
When
Great.
do we really suffix ing in English?
Yeah. When it is
continuous,
continuous
the process.
process.
So when we call ourselves human beings, we are beings in process.
Yeah.
And let us see how that process of being
Yeah.
and becoming
Right.
is healthy.
Right. Right.
And in that sense, I think
Yeah.
we need to really think about.
This was really an interesting episode, Shirisha, and I think we have spoken about a lot of things which need to be spoken about, and we have just touched the surface. I think there is a lot more to it. Like, we cannot generalize certain things. The parental anxiety is also is coming from a place of concern for the future of the children. Teachers, it's another debate on how schools are being actually looking at education, and a lot more. So once a parent will deal with all these deep down important things which need to be spoken. But for now, for this episode, I think I would like to bring the focus back on how it is important to look at education and schooling from a different lens, how parents need to really revisit their expectations from the children, from the school, from the education system, redefine their role, because it is definitely not outsourcing. And also, it's not just about outsourcing. Parents are also wanting to do things, but they don't know how to go about it. We will definitely come up with certain tools, age appropriate, because Google is another big confusing factor. And peer pressure, peer parenting, consumerism, all this is actually, sometimes I feel parents are also, very confused in this whole thing. So I'm not going to blame anybody in this whole thing. But
then it's high time that we take the responsibility.
Yes.
And
hit the pause button and wait and see whether
examine, challenge, question, and then reset, recalibrate, restructure.
And the essence of once a parent, this platform, is to ensure that all parents feel supported, feel a sense of community, that we are all in the same boat. It's trial and error, nothing is perfect. Sometimes things don't work out, but we need to pause, introspect, and kind of revisit our choices. But the entire purpose should be nurturing the precious bond and relationship between you and your child, enjoying it. Every moment you need to enjoy, I feel. And children need happy parents, parents need happy children.
Correct.
So the premise is all on that. And so today's episode focused on these few things. And in the next episodes, we would talk about a lot more topics which are really concerning us, and not just about the problems, but how we can certain tools that can help us solve them also,
Exactly.
basically.
It is also like one more important thing I think Sheetal, you and me want to do is develop a perspective.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, it is not about a kind of quick fix tools that do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. So it's not about do's and don'ts, because as we have rightly said at the very beginning of this podcast, that every child is different, every parent is different, and their journey, their trajectory, growth trajectory
And their
is
combination
different.
is also so different.
Their combination is different. So one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah.
So how to arrive at the best possible solution?
Correct.
How to arrive at that, which requires a perspective. So now what is required for the parents is to take a perspective on their role as a parent, whether it's an expectation from the school, whether it is setting an expectation from the child. It is more about having a sound perspective in place, which will make this journey, which is bound to be full of challenges,
Yeah, of course, it can't be free of
but
challenges.
which will make this journey a solid, rock solid journey, where there would be stressors, there would be, but at the same time, there would be fun. Right now, parents are just experiencing their parenting as just a liability
And a stress.
and a stress. They have lost the fun of being a parent.
Yeah. And so are children losing the fun of being children.
Exactly.
Anyway, so yes, I hope you've liked this episode, and maybe would have any suggestions, feedbacks. Please feel free to write back to us. Our email ID is also mentioned on our Instagram handle. You can DM us. You can also, whatever issues you are facing, we would try and address those. So you can write to us. And thank you for being with us through our journey of
Yeah.
Once a Parent. See you soon. Thank you so much.